for The Draw. Elizabeth Coon here with Emma Kuehl, and we are joined by Northville head coach Kaylee Deering. Thanks so much for taking some time to chat.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, and you guys have been having such an exciting season so far, sitting at 13-4, heading into the regional finals. I mean, can you just walk me through this season up until this point, and what's really been some things that have stuck with you?
Yeah, so I think that our big thing is that we really work together well as a team. We have a lot of different scorers on the field. We have great midfielders. We have Molly that leads our midfield as only a sophomore, and she's very strong at that. We have great attackers, and our defense is pretty solid. And we just work really well together, and we really trust each other as like a family atmosphere. And I go into everything asking for effort and energy, and I always end every right before a game, I always end every cheer with just go have some fun, because I think they just kind of have to get sometimes out of their own heads. They're teenagers and they got a lot going on up there. So I just always remind them to just have fun, because I think when you have fun, you become a better player. So that's where we kind of are at this year.
Absolutely. And, when you have fun, you're playing loose, things start clicking. Talk to us a little bit about your win over Salem. Obviously, it was a really close game. So kind of walk us through how you came out with the win there.
It's a very tough game when you play someone of that caliber. She's a very solid player. We did really well with them at the beginning of the season. And I think that she was just determined to get a lot more goals. So we just had to play some really strong defense, and we just had to move quick on offense and make sure that when we were on the offensive side that we were scoring goals that counted and that mattered. So I think that we just played a really tough game. It's always tough when it gets into the playoff setting. It's just a lot of high nerves and high energy. So I think that we did really, really well at playing as a team together and having multiple different scorers. And I think that is the reason that we did so well.
Yeah, spreading the wealth for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you guys are able to go out and get these big wins, close out huge games. I mean, just talk about the growth of this team from the beginning of the season to now.
I think that we, any team at the beginning of the season, I think that you have to kind of get reacclimated with each other, with your passing and catching and just the basics of lacrosse again, because some people don't do it year round. So I think that has always been our big thing, is we really focus on going back to the basics at the start. And then once we get to this point in the season, we have like a regimented routine that we go through to get in through practice. And then we really just work on like those quick passes to each other and making sure our defensive slides are there, because a lot of schools are very good drivers from the top. So we just got to make sure that we're able to kind of pick up those drives.
So obviously a huge win to propel you into that regional final coming up against Brighton. What is your message to the team? You're facing the reigning champion from Division I, so it will be a test. But what are you telling your team? Give us a little insight into your preparation.
I try to remind everyone that anything is possible. So we just have to go in there and fight hard and play our game. We're just really focusing on our defense picking up cutters, because they're a very quick, fast passing team, and they kind of just give a pass and somehow they catch it. So we're just kind of preparing for those kind of scenarios, and really just playing hard and fighting through anything, because if you put your mind to something, I really think anything's possible. So we're just, going in there as a team and as a family and just pushing through.
You mentioned it a little bit earlier, but kind of those nerves as you get into this part of the season, how do you really control them, make sure nobody's going in too nervous, but knowing the game plan, how do you really control that?
I always, when I can see them getting a little bit heightened, because we know them so well, we've had them for so long, I just kind of make the whole group as a whole take a deep breath, because even as coaches, we can get like a little bit excited and heightened. So I just kind of focus on just keeping everyone calm and relax. And I just tell them to relax and have some fun. So that's why I keep going back to the have some fun type of scenario, because I know some people play better when they're upset, but I've always found that you're stronger in yourself when you're just playing something you love. And I just remind them of that every day, that they're here for a reason. And then we like to joke and say, like, for the seniors, because we had our senior night, and that was what I kept saying for some reason. I just kept saying, let's do it for the seniors. So now that's just been our rest of our season joke, and everyone starts cheering. So that's kind of how I try to keep it fun and lighthearted and very serious and intense moments.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it seems that kind of culture and atmosphere has really drawn players to your program. I mean, over the course of my time, I've been insanely jealous of the amount of girls that you have on your squad. So, give us a little insight into the future of Northville Girls Lacrosse. I mean, I'm very excited about your program. I think you have a lot of talented athletes, and obviously things are working out. But, just tell us a little bit about the program as a whole.
Yeah, thank you. We had about 80 some girls try out this year. We fielded 3 teams. We had 71 girls total this year. We had a developmental team to really focus on girls that have never played before, making sure that their kind of skills get up to where they need to be and feel comfortable on the field themselves. So I think that was a huge asset, because we did end up pulling girls for JV from that developmental team. So it was just really exciting for us to watch brand new players come play. That's kind of why I started playing lacrosse in general. All my friends were playing my freshman year, and I was like, hey, why not? Like, I'll give it a try too. So I never wanted to be a coach to turn anyone away. So I think that that's why people are drawn to our program, because we don't turn anyone away, and we just try to take the skills that they bring us and develop them into players that are on the field. So we're very excited and hopeful that we get all the same turnout every year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you kind of mentioned it before. Sounds like you guys have a great bond, joke around with each other, have fun. What makes this team in particular at Northville so special?
I think every year holds a different place for me. I think that this year they are truly like friends. And I think that is like a big difference. Like, I have freshmen that are on our varsity team telling me that like the seniors talk to them in the hallway and come up to them and, hug them. I think that is just such a big difference when you feel that everyone on your team like wants to be there and wants to be playing together. And I think that is how they end up playing together as a team more, because they want to do it for each other and not just themselves. And that is kind of what lacrosse is all about, is playing a team sport together, individually and as a whole. What is so special about this team this year is that everyone truly wants to be there for each other.
Absolutely. There's nothing better than going into battle with your sisters at your side there. So that's great. It sounds like, the culture is really developed into a positive one that will set a really strong foundation for the future.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited. It's been really fun last 2 years as the head coach, and I'm just really excited to kind of keep this going. I have a little sister on the team now, actually 2. My one sister's on varsity and one's on JV. And so that's just fun for me, because I've been doing this for about 9 years now at Northville. So it's just exciting that it's come full circle. I've gotten to watch like all these girls grow up and become seniors, and now I get to have like my sisters play for me. And so that's just a very special moment for me too.
That's awesome. We love it, and we're going to be cheering you on, that's for sure. We want to wish you the best of luck on Saturday.
Thank you.
And thanks so much for taking some time to chat.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, and this was fun.
Hey, along with that Northville-Brighton matchup, we've got some more great regional final matchups heading into the weekend. Starting tonight, Heartland and Lake Orion in Division 1. What do you think about this matchup?
I think it's going to be a really athletic contest. I do think Heartland has the edge. They've been in this situation numerous times. But, I don't sleep on Lake Orion. I think that they are really up and coming in terms of putting a solid challenge in to get into the top 15. Just a really great team of athletes, solid goalkeeping. So I'm excited about it. Again, I do think Heartland has the edge, but I think Lake Orion might give them a little bit of a test.
Yeah, absolutely. Another good one, Rockford going to be taking on Forest Hills Northern Eastern. Who do you think has the edge in that one?
Yeah, historically, just a really solid matchup. I mean, this is kind of the perennial, teams that fight for the number 1 spot in Division 1. So a little unfortunate that they have to play each other so early. I think that Rockford has the edge in this game. They've been, really on the uphill since the midpoint of their season. So I think they'll look to get back into their regional championship. And then again into that state tournament.
Yeah, some great matchups in Division 1, no doubt about it. Moving on to Division 2, we've got Mercy taking on Ann Arbor father Gabriel Richard. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Mercy has a slight edge. Their regular season competition was a 12-11 win for Mercy, so I do think this will be one of the more closely contested games that we're going to see in the regional championship. Again, I think Mercy is on a hot streak right now, heading into the postseason. So a great matchup between two solid teams that have played each other before. So it should be a really good one to watch.
Another matchup with two really good teams, Hazlitt and DeWitt. They're going to be matching up. What do we think there?
Again, just perennial, really athletic teams. I do think Hazlitt has the advantage. But, never, again, like Lake Orion, never count out DeWitt. They have a really solid team, strong athletes, strong lacrosse players, great coaching. So I do think it will be one of the, again, more closely contested games in Division II that we see. I'm really excited to keep track of that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything can happen in playoffs. We're excited.
Can happen.
Yes, we'll see if your predictions are right next week. And we want to wish all the teams good luck as they head out for the regional finals this weekend. We're going to kick it to Sean Baligian.
Thank you very much, ladies. Doing a fantastic job all season long, and we're not done yet. So glad you could join us along with the coach, Greg Durham. My name is Sean Baligian, and Coach, here we are. Quarterfinals are all set. Before we look ahead, though, let's look back a little bit. I'd be interested to hear, you hear this in many of the sports at the MHSAA level, what we can do about seeding. Coach, is there something that jumps out to you, in regards to the future that maybe we should just take a look at in regards to how to seed these teams at the regional level?
Well, if you saw like the regionals, a lot of the games were blowouts. There was a few close ones, but for the most part, the games were decided by at least 6 or more goals. Some were decided by, 15, a couple, even more than that. But, I think the issue is, even though we have seeding, I mean, first of all, that is the greatest thing ever for us. We always wanted that. I think lacrosse has had it since we were part of the MHSA since day one in 2005. So we have it. The problem is that we're not getting really good balances in the region at the end. So one of the things I think that maybe the MHSA can look at, which could be brought up to the committee, and it takes a couple years, but I think eventually, hopefully they can do that, is maybe go to 16 teams. And what I mean by that, you have 1 through 8 seeded, but then you seed the 9th seed and you put them with the 8th. And then you put the 10th seed and you put them with the 7th, and so on. And I think that'll get a little bit more balance with the finals and make them a little better. I'm not saying it's perfect. There's never a perfect system because they really do try to decide it situational with regionals. But most of these teams don't care if they travel or not. It's not that big a deal.
Something to look forward to, Coach. I agree with you. I think this is, listen, I'm glad we have it, but like everything else, you can always make a situation and circumstances better.
Yeah, and like I said, the regionals were okay. There's some teams that, like I said, most of the teams that we know of, the 1 through 4 seeds, they all in each region. I'm 1 through 4th regions. They were all dominant. I mean, Rice was dominant. CC was dominant. It just keeps going on and on. I mean, even all the way down to the 8th seed, it was pretty dominant. But there's other teams, I think, in regions that didn't fall in the right region, and they were better teams. And that's just part of the seeding thing. And I think another thing that needs to be tweaked to help the seeding process improve is MPR. So they have this algorithm that they use to rate teams within the state of Michigan, who they play and so on. But a lot of it doesn't, I don't think it's perfect. I think they need to add a couple other equations to it or whatever it may be, head-to-heads and things of that nature, that they need to find out, hey, what can we do to offer more balance into this MPR system? Because, if you look at things like Lax Records, who has really good MPR, I think their rating system's unbelievable. It's very accurate to what the state has today.
Great stuff, Coach, and quarterfinals should be great stuff as well. As I mentioned, the matchups are set. Why don't we take a look at those Division I matchups? I think great matchups. I mean, I'm always going to say that. Are you kidding me as a fan of the game? But let's take a look at some of those Division I matchups.
I think the game of the weekend is a repeat to earlier in the season. You got Heartland versus Lake Orion. That's Saturday at Troy, 5:30 p.m. That's going to be a great game. Two great coaches, one more younger than the other. Nothing against you, Ron. But I think, Ron Hebert's an excellent coach. He knows how to adjust. He knows how to plan for teams. And it's just going to be a fantastic game. I really love to see that game. It's probably going to be, I think, the best game of the weekend. And then you got Grand Ledge versus Rockford, which is another great game. Grand Ledge with the face-off guy, really great attackman, and Rockford's just a really good team, really balanced, one of the top teams in Division I. That's really like that. It's just a really good matchup, those two right there. So that's, more of the west side to central west side of the state. That should be a very interesting game. And then I think in Division II, go ahead.
Yep, to the west side.
I think, Hazlitt played Forest Hill Central beginning of the season, and I think it was just a couple goal game. Hazlitt's a really interesting team. I know they're very they're really good defensively. Forest Hill Central struggle, but they're climbing through. Forest Hill Central is a team to watch. They just keep getting better. I know Andy Shira. I know what type of coach he is. He is getting his guys ready. Don't count them out. That should be a great game, though, on Saturday.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Best of luck to all these teams in the quarterfinals. Locations all over the place, so certainly be cognizant of that and go out and support this fantastic game. Top 10s, Coach, getting a little easier now that some teams are still alive, but let's start with the top 10 in Division I, if we may.
So you got CC Rice, Grand Ledge, Rockford right there. Heartland, Lake Orion, 5-6. And then, I put Birmingham in there because they had to play Rice. So that's, we put them in there. But Brighton and Clarkson right behind them. And then Hudsonville, West Side, the state team. Really solid program. Really been building up and up. They're 10th. Division II, well, nothing's going to change. Country Day is dominant. You got Forest Hills Eastern. I talked to Tony the other day. He's got his guys ready to roll. They're excited about the playoffs, and hopefully, they'll be in the finals. But East Grand Rapids and Forest Hill Central are just sitting there. And East Grand Rapids has been playing really well. They've been getting better every week. They had some lumps in the beginning of the season. They're a solid team, solid program. And Forest Hill Central, like I just talked about, they're the same way. They may not be 1 and 2 this year, but they're going to be climbing. They're going to fight for it. Byron Center just won their region. They knocked off Mattawan. And, Grand Rapids Catholic Central, another solid program, really good athletes. You got Forest Hills Northern, who's out of it. Mattawan just lost. I got Hazlitt at 9, just because maybe with the region they're in. And then you got Spring Light at 10. Another West Side team.
Great stuff. Appreciate it. And now we got to get to what was the most difficult part of the show. Coach, I think it's safe to say this was the most difficult top 10 we've ever had to deal with in doing this the last few years. And no joke, folks. Coach, I know this is probably going to get a laugh out of you. There was debate going on even about 120 seconds before we started taping this. That tells you how difficult this process was. But we had to make a final top 10. Just a reminder, we're going to freeze this top 10. We're going to look ahead to the Final Four. Remind you, whoever is the online vote getter, they're automatically into our Final Four. So we're going to have to pick 3 more names off of this list. But, Coach, without further ado, the debate was hot and heavy. But here is our top 10 list.
Yeah, I think the committee, it was tough. It was tough for them to figure this all out. A lot of data, a lot of stata. And you know what? When you see the data, it really speaks for itself. A lot of it, like you and I talked. There's a lot of shocking like things. I'm like, wow, I did not know that. And it's like you see those things, but it's really relevant to our decision making with the committee. I thought they did a great job. So further ado, you have your top 10.
And it's interesting as you take a look at that top 10, obviously you got a little bit of everything on there. You got your goalie, you got your middies, attack, D. You love to see that. I think it goes to show you again what a good place our state is in. And this is how we came to our top 10. If you're out there, you're thinking your player maybe got disrespected, this is what we talk about at the beginning of the year and all throughout the year, and especially remind you this week. Here's the criteria that we asked everybody to adhere to. 30% performance throughout the season, 20% level of competition. Obviously, that online vote, one of those guys is going to automatically go into the Final Four. 15% big game performance, 10% team success. Listen, right, wrong, or indifferent, the guys that are still playing, they got a bump in this. They got that 10% bump there. And then, of course, 5% highly recruited prospect. And Coach, it wasn't easy, but let's face it, when you look at that criteria, and I think if you kind of put all those names through the grinder, so to speak, you can see why we came up with those 10 names. There's something to be said, especially in particular, about the guys that are still playing.
Yeah, I played against a lot of these guys this year. Landon Parker, very special player, dominant face-off guy. He's going to Monmouth. He's just a great. When I first saw him, I was like, wow, you're a big kid. I mean, I couldn't believe the size of him. Dominant. Noah Benedict is really helping out, Forest Hills Eastern. I talked to Coach, Baligian about him. He's just having a great year. He and Landon went head-to-head. He did pretty well against them. It's just a battle between those two right there for the, face-offs. And then you got Tyson Cooper from Grand Ledge, probably one of the best attackmen I've seen. It's not just his scoring. The kid sees the field. I saw him made a feed pass to the backside, just no look. It was, I can't even describe it. It was unbelievable. I was like, that kid's talented. You got Cashton. Cashton, one of the best players in the state. I mean, he's just dominant. He it's funny. I watched the Birmingham game, and he didn't do a lot, but everybody went to him. They basically, everybody's sliding to him. He's their number one guy now with all their injuries. But what I noticed about Rice is that they played really as a team with Cash, and you're just going to see more guys free up Cash a little bit, and you're going to see Cash hopefully persevere. I mean, that's him. And then you got Lachlan Moffitt. He's there. He's getting the same kind of respect as Cashton is, as Tyson is. He gets double teamed all the time, and he just moves the ball. And that's what you have to do when you're that talented. He's got like 100 and some points against one of the toughest schedules in the state. Shafiq Halabi, best defenseman in the state, in my opinion. Just dominant, just a monster. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's so good. Luke Seidel, probably the shock this year. Just a great midfielder, lefty, can go both ways. 84 points. I mean, for a midfielder against that schedule. You got Drew Lockwood, who is dominant this year. He's been tearing it up. And what's really interesting is you got him going against Andrew Parker on Saturday. And that's going to be a great game. And it was a great game. The last time they played, they both lit it up. They both had a huge amount of points. And Andrew Parker from Lake Orion has been, carrying pretty much Lake Orion all year. And I know Coach Hebert talked highly of him about, how important he is to the team, and so on. And then you got Kellen Kirby, who's probably the best goalie I've seen this year. Just a fantastic player. As a junior, he's already committed to Ohio State. So really good list. Very happy with the list, I think, for the committee. I think they did a nice job, and we'll see how it goes.
We're going to lock that list, and we'll talk to you about the Final Four next week. Good luck to the remaining teams. Just a huge weekend. We'll all be paying attention to the quarterfinals. That's all the time we have. For Coach Durham, I'm Sean Baligian. Thanks so much for checking out Faceoff here on the State Champs Network.
State Champs Faceoff and The Draw is presented by Lawrence Technological University. Be curious, make magic. Faceoff and The Draw is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud sponsor of the MHSAA. Warrior Lacrosse, Michigan-based, Michigan-built. Visit warrior.com. And the Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Michigan High School Male and Female Athlete of the Year Award.